Yeah, so next up on the Game Changers color list here is black. They got some good cards here. There's a couple that I think we can group together safely without losing any real discussion. That's Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, and Vampiric Tutor. Those tutors in particular, they'll either put it on top of your library, any card, or into your hand, any card. And it's pretty obvious why they're included in that. Just the ability to search any combo piece, any removal piece, any silver bullet. Um, that's a game changer. It absolutely is. It is something that will probably, if whatever you tutor for goes unanswered, is probably going to win you the game. How do you guys feel about these particular cards included? Any significant deviation to that general opinion?
No, in general, tutors are strong. They're restricted at the lower brackets, and it would make sense for them to be game changers. I mean, these are obviously, just strictly speaking, the three strongest tutors. So it definitely makes sense for them to be on here. Um,
Yeah.
John, anything you want to add?
A lot of tutors are like subset tutors, like find an enchantment, find an artifact. These are just anything.
Hmm.
Sort of breaks that whole, 2 card combo rule where it's like one of any 5 cards because you have 5 tutors in your deck. So yeah, they're just they just changed the game a lot. So yeah, game changer.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think we can move on off of those. The first non-tutor for the blacklist is going to be Bolus's Citadel. This artifact is pretty freaking ridiculous in a format that starts you with 40 life. I have personally never seen it not win the game pretty much immediately. As soon as it's resolved, it's just very, very strong. And if you couple it with like a Sensei's Divining Top or any fetch lands, anything that shuffles the library or lets you rearrange your top, it's just absurd the amount of cards you can get out. And then you can just kill everybody if you cast everything enough with it. So this one definitely belongs on the game changer list, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. It's basically the best ritual they've ever printed, I think. You get to convert 35-ish life into spells as long as you don't hit runner land. And if you have any ways to shuffle, as you mentioned, or change the top card, then you're just really cooking. I mean, top lets you draw 30 cards with it and then, take a pit stop along the way and cast a couple of 4 or 5 drops, and cards just absurdly powerful. There are ways to cheat it out easily. It has its own activated win con. Definitely belongs on the list.
Yeah.
I don't think it's strong enough to merit a ban, but I do think it belongs on this list so that at least your deck can't be too crazy. But what do you think, John?
Oh, if Yawgmoth's Bargain, I believe that's banned, right?
Yeah.
That is banned.
In a format where you have 40 life, using some of that life as ritual, like as free mana, is sometimes better than Bargain. Obviously, Bargain, you don't run into that runner land problem because you just get to draw cards as you please, as you need to. So like it's a little bit worse, but like sometimes all you really want is to cast 9 mana of free spells every turn. You don't have to do that for many turns to value win if you don't just win. So yeah, and like you say, it has its own win con. Sack this, deal some damage. You can find a way to loop that pretty easy. You don't even need another card in your deck to win once you've won.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think the reason that it is not banned is because of the potential for whiffing, whereas something like Yawgmoth's Bargain does not have that potential. Where in the runner land thing is the only way out unless you have some instant speed. Shouts out to my bro Croson Grip. Um, just some way of dealing with that. So yeah, really good inclusion. And again, like we're going over this so that new players who don't necessarily know can understand why these cards are on this list, as well as just to affirm that, frankly, Wizards, I think, did a very good job with this one overall. All right, so the next card up on the list is Opposition Agent, the card that lets you steal your opponent's tutors and use them for yourself. God damn, it is so good. I played Sisay for the longest time as my CEDH commander, and if I didn't have a way of shutting opposition agent down like immediately, it was pretty much GG for me. Sisay is now a 5/5 for 3, which is fine, but it's not CEDH. And just in general, even if you're not playing like tutors, like your opponent casts Harrow, and you suddenly just grab those lands and can play them yourself. Fetch lands are no more. Path to Exile becomes a ramp spell for you. Like, Oppo Agent is absurdly good, and the fact that you can flash it in response makes it really stupid good, in my opinion.
Yeah. Asymmetrical stacks, like we've been
Yeah.
over this. It's just it speaks for itself. I don't know.
Yeah, it has flash, so it jumps your opponent, like in response to their fetch land. I haven't seen it in a while because they cut it from most of the cubes that I play, but I know that it can be incredibly oppressive. And in a format like Commander, where everyone is cracking all kinds of tutors, most decks are going to play probably 2 of their 3 game changer slots are going to be tutors, and in higher brackets like 4 and 5, it's going to be so much more than that. That opposition agent is just clearly busted.
Yup. It's in every CEDH deck that runs black and plays creatures. There's a reason for that. Okay, so this next card, for me, it doesn't affect me as much because I feel like this next card is a noob buster. It's one of the most hated commanders out there, but if you're playing at a high enough power level, it suddenly becomes a lot more fair. This is Turgrid, God of Fright. Well, that everybody hates on this card so much, but I understand why, especially for lower power level pods where like discard is really effective, where you're making your opponent sacrifice creatures is really effective. This becomes oppressive very quickly, especially if you play something like a Liliana of the Void or a Thoughtseize. Like, just taking control of your opponent's stuff at that scale, and God forbid they run things like Faithless Looting or stuff like that, that just suddenly becomes a lot worse. But the fact that it just gets them is pretty good. And frankly, even though it's not really, I haven't seen it, at least I don't know if it's not played, but I haven't seen it in CEDH. I think it's a little underpowered. Doesn't win the game immediately. It just makes the game a bit more difficult, which isn't the best maneuver in that format. For lower level players, this exists to troll low and mid level tables. Absolutely. What do you guys
this
think?
is a conclusion that to me seemed a little odd. I mean, I had to have it kind of explained to me why it's so strong because at its face value, it doesn't have an ETB. It has a good passive. Like it's a split card. You can cast the back half of it. But it didn't seem too insane until, people were explaining to me like, no, you cast that and you cast a Wheel of Fortune, or you plus your Liliana of the Veil. Now suddenly you've got tons of gas, and the fact that you get it every game. If your opponent kills it, you just recast it like any other commander, and you only have to hit on one really good effect that's going to get a ton of cards for it to be pretty oppressive at lower powered tables.
Even just Thoughtseize is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize turns into like a triple dark ritual or something. It steals a card. Yeah, I don't know.
So I mean,
it's this weird space where it's like you say, it's probably not good enough at tier 4 anyway, but like at the lower tiers, it's kind of weirdly good against weaker, slower decks that are just going to have cards in their hand. Might play more fatties than necessarily they need to, but like they're your fatties now.
I forgot that the card even had a backside. If you're new and you're thinking about playing the backside of Tergrid, just don't.
Just don't.
It's
The backside
Wrong-
was
wrong
very
answer.
good in limited, but
Yes.
limited your
But
opponent didn't
Commander-
always have an Eldrazi in their hand.
Yeah. All right, what was next? The next card up on this list is Ad Nauseam. So this card is incredibly good for the same reason that Bolas's Citadel is good. It allows you to trade life for cards. In competitive commander decks, typically your CMC, the average is like 1.4, 1.3, even like 1 for some decks. Like you're running a Rog side deck, like Adnaz is one of like 4 cards in the deck that has a converted mana cost higher than 2. So you're able to just cast this and typically just fucking win off of a storm count. Just win. Good game. It's a CEDH staple for a very good reason. It becomes less good in less competitive decks, but still pretty dope. You cast one spell, and typically you're getting like 5-6 cards at least. My deck, I average getting 15 cards with Adnaz, because I'm the highest CMC is 5 for Force of Will, which I'm honestly even considering cutting just because of I run Ad Nauseam. But it just allows you to load your hand up and pretty much instantaneously win. No, I anticipate I know the answer to this, but how do you guys feel about this card being included on the Game Changer list?
So yeah, I mean, this should obviously be on the game changer list, if not banned. I mean, it's slightly weaker than like Yawgmoth's Bargain, which is banned. And the one thing that makes it weaker is that it's a one-time effect. You have to make all of the decisions about it immediately. You can't, gain life in the future and convert that into cards. But yeah, there's also some uncertainty as well. Like once you're beneath, 7, 6, 5 life, it starts to get a little bit riskier. So you are restricted in that way. But no, the card's just insane. I mean, if you're casting it and you're starting out anywhere between 30 and 50 life, it's just going to be like 5 mana, draw 6, 8 cards. It's an instant. So you do it in your opponent's end step, go to your turn, and you immediately just deploy all of that gas. It's absurdly strong. It definitely belongs on this list. Do you have any thoughts, John?
Yeah, I think this is everything I said about Bolas Citadel. This is kind of just the same card. You lose as much life as you would have paid off of Citadel, except Citadel you get to look first, then leap, and Citadel casts it right away. But Adnaz instant, so you do it end of turn. It's they're kind of the same thing, but little differences. And as much as it hurts to like lose 4 life for a single card, your average CMC is like 1.5 or something. It's so low.
Yep.
Because you have like lands and free rock, free like Chrome Moxen, whatever. Like it's so easy to just draw a game-winning amount of cards off of this, especially when you start at 40 life. It's like designed for 20 life formats. So
in
very,
Rog
very
Sai,
easy
which
to
is
break.
one of the fastest decks that they have, it's Turbo Sai. If you resolve Adnaz, you basically are guaranteed to win the game. It's insane. It's also why people play dual lands instead of shocks in a lot of these decks. It's good enough so that a lot of sweaty guys will shell out the $1,000 for the dual lands so that they can Adnaz one more card off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the end of their written list. On the Ad Nauseum Bolas's Citadel paying life for card advantage, 2 notable exclusions from this are Necropotence and Necrodominance, which there's no universe that exists that those cards shouldn't be on this list, in my opinion. Just if paying life to get cards in your hand is good enough in Adnaz, then it's good enough where it's like you have to run the risk of losing 5 off of Force of Will. Then it's good enough for Necrodominance and Necropotence where you're paying 1 per card. And with a Dark Ritual or a Cabal Ritual or a Jeweled Lotus, you can get this thing out in turn 1 and just straight gas. You know, like it's over there. Like, good game. Like, we should just move to the next one unless you also have something of similar nature. Am I missing any obvious inclusions on that list? Because I know we talked about these ones a little bit. Like, any others that are like really crazy at pay life draw cards that you can think? Because obviously Gristlebrand's banned, and so is Bargain.
I will say
Or
for
Will.
the necro effects, just being able to Zur for them is also a huge upside. Just like always having access to this card when you attack with your commander is just like really dumb.
Yep.
uh, so yeah, that I don't know how those cards like the 3-mana version of the 6-mana card isn't banned for some reason, and they didn't even put it on Game Changers. It's like I don't get that. It should
I
be
agree. That's
somewhere here.
yeah.
I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense. Both of those should be included. I mean, they may have been intending to keep the list a little bit short, and we know that this is a beta, so they might make changes, based on community feedback and kind of some stats. But I would not be surprised at all if both of those find their way on this list very shortly.
Yeah, like, Opposition Agent is situationally relevant. There is no situation where a freaking Necropotence or a Necrodominance is not
Yeah.
relevant. The other card that I would say is it really, speaking of Yawgmoth, Bargain is the one where you pay for the life. Yawgmoth's Will should be a game changer. I've never seen someone not win or secure the field with Yawgmoth's Will. It just doesn't happen. When you resolve it, it's very difficult to not win the game after that. I think that is a snap include for the black game changer list.
Yeah, so this is another one that you just saying that kind of takes me by surprise because I didn't realize that that card was still legal. It's actually insane that Yawgmoth's Will is legal. So not banned and not a game changer. It just blows my mind. That's incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. Was like the strongest card in Vintage for a long time. Maybe still is. I don't know. Card is nothing good comes with this card.
I personally hope they ban it so I don't have to find some way of buying it. That's just where I'm at. It's so expensive. Please just ban it so I don't have to donate more plasma to get my freaking CEDH deck up and running. Anything else that we're obviously missing? I think maybe Shieldred, but that's honestly whatever. I don't think Shieldred is as crazy in EDH. You have so much life to play with already. Yeah, you can like play it with cards and stuff, but that was one that I was toying with. But the more I think about it, like the less impactful it actually is.
Yeah.
Certainly impactful. It's a good card, but I think it's just a good card.
Yeah.
Pretty good with Necro.
Yes.
It's okay, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe Tainted Pact because it's sort of just Demonic Tutor with extra steps. I guess you can't run multiple basics, or if you do, you have to like stop when you hit a basic. But
yeah, you run the set of basics for whatever color you're in, and then you run the snow colored set of basics, so you can have at least 2 in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I think Tainted Pact is okay because you lose so much if you're using it as a tutor. I think when Tainted Pact becomes a problem, same with Demonic Consultation, is only with Thassa's Oracle. So personally, I think that by including Thassa's Oracle on the list, they've already ipso facto basically covered Tainted Pact personally.
I play Tainted Pact in a deck with multiple swamps, and I don't mean like snow swamps. I mean just basic swamps that all have to have the same name for Extraplanar Lens, and it's still great. It's just like find a good spell or clear the chaff off. I couldn't imagine how good it is when it's actually just tutor, and I guess you don't have access to some of the like whatever you're exiling. You could just think of those cards are on the bottom of your deck, and you're never going to draw them. It's very low downside to like, oh, I don't have access to my damnation, I guess I have to go for mutilate or whatever's basically the same card.
See, the downside of that is I run so many tutors that it actually does matter to me that the
But yeah, if
cards
you're
are
super
exiled.
combo-y and like getting rid of your tutor targets is actually a thing, because you will need them later in the game, for sure. But I
Yeah, I
feel
think that actually it might be one of the cards where on the weaker brackets, it's just not even good because of the kind of like skill testing nature of using it like that. Um, so it might be fine not to be on this list just because if you're not using it correctly and you're not using it,
yeah,
to
like
exile your deck, there's no kind of middle ground that I think the average, bracket 1, 2, or 3 player is really going to use it effectively.
yeah, I guess my thought was like it's demonic tutor with some deck building restraints, but also has the upside of Oracle. But if the whole premise is if you're using it with Oracle, Oracle's really the problem, then
Yeah.
maybe it's
I
sort
think
of
so,
like
yeah.
I outlogicked myself.
The other card that we had listed, and I'm curious because we had a debate about Rest in Peace, but Leyline of the Void is asymmetrical. Does that fit your criteria, Andy, for being included on the list, or is it still just Graveyard Hate and Go Cry Dredge player, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of, again, I have to go back to like the base strength of the card. I just don't think it's that good. Like they're not putting Leyline of the Void in every black deck just because you could have Leyline of the Void. I mean, it doesn't see enough play to warrant that kind of, response. So even though it is asymmetrical, I think that just an asymmetrical bad card shouldn't be a game changer. And
Fair.
that's kind of where I fall with it. It is very, very oppressive against specific decks. But again, I think if you go to your game night and you sit down across from a player and they show you their, what is it, Carador, the Ghost Chieftain, and you're, trying to cheat in your Leyline of the Void, like you're not sitting at the right table anyways, and no game changers bracket system is gonna fix that for you.
I've run it in CEDH because of the prevalence of Underworld Breach and Memnotic Betrayal and Yawgmoth's Will, but I think you're right. For lower, that's already covered by everything else. That's fair. That's fair. When it's not effective, it's just totally ineffective. But
I will say though, I'd like to push back against it being a bad card. Said it's
Well, in
asymmetrical
competitive,
bad
it's
card.
good.
Like it's either a great card or it's an extra land that doesn't tap for mana. It's either not a card or it's a great card. It's like very rarely a like, oh, I stopped you getting a little bit of value with my ley line. It's either your deck doesn't work or this is a blank piece of cardboard.
That's
and as a
true. No, what I meant by it being a bad card is that it doesn't progress your game plan equal to what you invest in it. Like if it was printed now and it had, when it comes in, draw 2, discard 1, or like, if it cantripped on the way in or something,
Give you a
um,
backdrop.
you know, yeah, it would get into a lot more decks just as a generic card. But
I
like,
know what you're saying about printed now, but it's the only black leyline that exists. Every time they've reprinted leylines, they've given the other ones new cards, and this one has
mhm.
stayed the same because it is just the perfect banger leyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
I get it, but I see both sides. I just don't think that the raw power warrants it. The play that it sees doesn't demonstrate that it's good enough to just, put in every deck and shut down some decks. And, you don't just play it in your Carador deck because you can, because it's not good enough.
It's a judo throw. You're using your opponent's strength against them.
Do you have it in Maga?
No, but I don't put
That
Staxy cards in my commander decks usually.
I
So
guess that's
I'm
true. Yeah.
I'm the like glass cannon combo deck guy. I'm not the care about what my opponents are doing guy.
I have one in my Anafesa, my Enchantress, my Junk Enchantress deck. I absolutely play it. I
Is
don't
that
play it. Go ahead.
CEDH?
Um,
Is,
I would call that like bracket 3.5.
Hmm.
I've also seen it in decks that run the Witherbloom Apprentice, Chain of Fog line. So a lot of Gruul decks will end up playing it as a one-off. And speaking, and I keep saying, I played a friggin' Poxloam deck, so the graveyard. I'm a graveyard abuser, and I guess I just have a lot of trauma behind like, all right, turn 0, Leyline of the Void. I'm like, okay, let's move to the next game. like,
Yeah,
let me resolve this vengeful pharaoh as the good Lord intended. Let me see him on the field. Let's do that today.
Nothing's worse
to
than being the dredge player and your opponent's like playing mill and they just have game one ley line and you're like, oh my goodness, you
God,
put this in to meme and it's my deck just doesn't work.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, to
So
boil it down, though, I think that most of the whole list of game changers are cards that, if you were allowed to, you should put them in, with limited exceptions, basically every deck that can play them up to the maximum copies. I mean, there are some really narrow cards we've already covered. Sarah's Sanctum. You're not going to just throw that into any deck, or like Ginge Ataxius in your blue decks. But every other white card that we talked about, and almost every other blue card, and basically every one of these black cards should be in your deck if you're in those colors. And the Game Changers list is kind of to keep you from doing that. And my stance about Leyline of the Void is that you don't need a Game Changers list to keep you from putting Leyline of the Void in every black deck. Some decks are going to play it. Your Anafenza deck, and I think you mentioned one other that you had seen, but it's not like when you start your deck and you throw in all your black lands, you're like, I know, Leyline of the Void, jam it in there. So I think that that's kind of the purpose of the list, is to keep you from doing that for all of these cards and all of these colors. And I just think that the power level of the card already, does a good job of keeping you from putting it in every deck. You still put it in some, and it's still
Yep.
good against some, and it's a beating when it's good against you, as John had mentioned.
It hurts so much.
But you just don't have to have your arm twisted, to keep you from playing it. Is my stance, at least.
I respect that. I think what you're saying is totally valid. I disagree with it about this particular card, but that doesn't make either of us right or wrong. And I'd love to hear
that's okay.
perspective in the comments. A couple of cards that are not in here are, Dothy Voidwalker, which is only as good as the cards your opponents are playing, so it's really kind of self-mitigating when it comes to that type of stuff.
But wait, whoa. Dothy Voidwalker is on your maybe, and Leyline is like the same. I guess you wanted Leyline, so I guess it makes sense. I was like, never mind.
Dothy Voidwalker is really strong, and
yes,
it probably
is...
could be on this list. But I think the reason it's not is because it's only as strong as the opponent's deck, where it obviously is crazy. I run it in my CEDH deck. I don't run it in every CEDH deck that I've played that has black in it. Whereas if I'm doing creatures at all, Opposition Agent is in every CEDH deck that I play that has black in it. I think there's an argument for it being on there, and I wouldn't bat an eye if it was. But it was one of the ones that I considered, and then I pushed it off the other side of the fence. Same with Orcish Bowmaster, actually. Although it's very, very good, and it's a staple in most decks that run black, it ends up being really effective recurring spot removal. It's very easy to kill, it obviously, if someone's running something like a response to a Wheel of Fortune or a Windfall or one of those types of effects, it's crazy. But I don't think that it just needs to die on sight the way a lot of these other cards do.
Yeah.
It's still very good. I wouldn't call it a game changer, though. It's just, like John, you said earlier, Commander deserves to have good cards in it, too.
Yeah. It does change the game, but in a way that's reasonable, I think.
Yeah, yeah. the scaling is not fast enough to be as relevant outside of certain circumstances, like, you know, somebody casts a Tolarian Winds or somebody casts a Wheel of Fortune or a Windfall. Then it becomes kind of bonkers, but they still get the cards at the end of the day, and it's one target per. So you, even off of a 4-player friggin' Wheel of Fortune, you're only dealing 28 damage, and chances are someone's gonna murk you afterwards just out of the politics.
Man, the
But-
sentence only 28 damage is not something I expect. I
Hey,
mean, in that case, it's very, very strong. But
yes,
I don't think it goes on this list. But
that is
when
as
you,
strong as it gets.
yeah,
Maximum strength. So that moves us along. Unless you guys had, just checking, did you have any others that you think should be included on this list?
I think we covered everything that I had. John, did you have any suggestions?
I'm sure there's some glaring omission, but I can't think of it. So let's
Hit us
just
up in
move
the
on.
comments. What else should we talk about? Because we'd love to actually discuss this with you. So let's go to the literal redheaded stepchild of the CEDH format. Rest in peace, Dockside Extortionist. Red. There are 2 cards listed in red: Jessica's Will and Underworld Breach. I think both of these deserve to be there. I have never not gotten insane value out of Jessica's Will. A lot of the time it starts the combo of Storm. You typically get 5 or 7 mana out of it and 3 cards off the top. It's played in every competitive EDH deck that runs red, and the card advantage plus the mana that you get is absurd. Any thoughts on that particular card?
It's one of those commander printed cards that was an obvious mistake. It's a ritual that also gets you card advantage, often both. So, I mean, like you said, it seems to be clearly one of the strongest red cards they've printed for the format, and it should definitely be on here. I don't think it deserves a ban, so I think this does go far enough to kind of somewhat restrict it from the weaker tables. And I think that this is kind of the perfect spot for it. What do you think, John?
Yeah, card's good. Sees like there's a legacy rubies. There's a legacy Ruby Storm deck that plays this with only one opponent, and it's like playable in Legacy. I don't know. That's pretty
Strong.
ringing indictment of the card. Can't imagine how it works with multiple opponents other than really good for you. So yeah.
Yep. And it gets you basically, in most non-competitive games, it gets you almost the same amount of mana as Dockside would get you. Except you can't loop it with any sort of flicker effect or reanimate it or that kind of stuff. So obviously Dockside is just better, but this is still pretty goddamn good. The other one is Underworld Breach, which is stupid. For the same reason, like Underworld Breach is here, but Yawgmoth's Will wasn't, and that baffles me.
I mean, Underworld Breach might be better. Maybe the lower power, maybe the higher power the format is, Will is better, but Breach is so busted.
It is extraordinarily good. Every time I've seen it resolved in a competitive game, it wins the person the game.
Like,
Maybe
Breach
one
is the
exception.
card that lets you cast, like Yawgmoth's Will, the same card multiple times.
Yes.
If that is
So,
good, Breach is better, but I mean,
Lion's
Yawgmoth's
Eye
Will is
Diamond.
more universal.
Yeah. With Lion's Eye Diamond in particular, it's like eat your heart out, really. It deserves to be on this list wholeheartedly. I'm just baffled that Underworld Breach is and Yawgmoth's Will isn't. But yeah, that those are the only cards that are on the Game Changers list for red. I can think of a couple right off the top of my head that should definitely be included. First one being Deflecting Swat, another mistake that they made in terms of publishing a card. It is in effect, when it comes to like protecting your combo, exactly the same and honestly probably better than Fierce Guardianship. because once the counterspell is on the stack, you can change the target of the counterspell to itself, and or even change it to the deflecting SWAT. Like like between that and then if someone's like trying to, I don't know, deadly rollick or any type of spot removal to your commander, you just go fuck you and hit what you want instead. You can
Swords
steal
to Plowshare
steal
your own
draws.
commander? Why would you do that?
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Yeah.
Somebody plays like a target player draws cards. Like, thank you. That was so kind of you to give that to me. Deflecting SWAT 1000% should be on there. Most of things are debatable. This is not. Like, it just should be there.
Yeah, I agree. Free spells, pretty good, very strong. Like you said, it's as strong as Fierce Guardian, the ship. Yeah, the counter spell. Sometimes even better. So if that's a game changer, then this deflecting SWAT also should be. Kind of strange to not see it included. But any other thoughts, John?
Uh, the Fierce Guardianship sort of like is more reliable, maybe, because like it hits basically everything. But when you resolve SWAT, like it's better. You know, it's way better to kill their thing and have your thing live than to just have your thing live, or mind sludge them instead of you, rather than just no one gets mind sludge. Like it's way better when it resolves, but it probably like would miss one or two things like a mass edict effect or a wrath that. But like it's just the juice is worth the
Planeswalker.
squeeze on this one.
Yeah. There are those are definitely notable differences, but it all like those weaknesses are definitely accounted for by the strengths that you already outlined of
Yeah.
the card itself. The other one that I can think of that really should just be included in this is Bergie. Whenever you cast a spell, you get a red, and it doesn't empty during the end of the pool. Like, talk about Bergie, go burr. Like it's just it's very good. Like it's very good. There's no situation where like you should see a Bergie resolve at your table, and I'm probably brutally mispronouncing it. Again, roast me in chat. In chat, yeah, sure. I'm tired. It's fine. But again, just like there's no situation where you can see one of these guys resolve at your table, and you should think to yourself, I should let that live. No, it's on site. Just zap it, get it, stop it, dead. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Basically, like a ruby medallion that you can play as your commander, and the backside lets you deal with flood. If you're not short on mana, you can play the back and just, oh, all my cards are 2 cards now.
I am exactly the person that Bergie would get at the table. Like, to me, seems fine. Like, I know that it can be very, very strong. I mean, as John described it, it's a ruby medallion, you know, a 3-mana 3/3. Like, if they murder me with it, that's fine. That's what their deck signed up to do. I'll kill it if I can. But to me, it doesn't seem so oppressive. Obviously, in higher powered formats, I'm not sure if there's a CEDH deck built around it, or if you see it in CEDH. Okay, then that definitely makes sense. Yeah,
it's like one of
like
the only higher level cost spells in Rogsai. Anything that runs Storm, 100% of if you're on the Storm, if you're in red and you're on the Stormwind, like you play Bergie. Period.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're playing a format where there's tons and tons of just 0, 1, and 2 mana spells, then obviously Bergie go burr, as you said. But I just think that on most commander tables, especially in these lower brackets, it might make you an extra mana, maybe 2 in a turn. Like if you really go off, it's going to be an extra 4 mana. But I think that if your commander is a 3-mana 3/3 that gives you an extra 4 mana on your real pop-off turn, then you worked for it and you deserve it. But maybe I'm wrong, because I can see how the card's powerful. I've cast it plenty in cube and it's been absurd there. But I just don't think that it's as ridiculous, especially in these lower brackets of EDH, as to need to be put on this list. But
That's fair.
Yeah, like it's a busted 4 bracket card, 4 or 5 bracket card, but like
Stuff for red.
at 3, it's
Yeah.
probably not even good. That's what you're getting at, I'm guessing.
yeah, exactly.
fair.
Yeah, like if your deck has all 2, 3, and 4 drops in it, then you're gonna get to cast 2, 3 drops on turn 5 and end with a mana floating, and that's fine. And if you really go for it, then
Like, you can't
it'll
have a
make
storm
you...
deck that isn't a 4 kind of
Right.
argument.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go like Bergie, Mox, Manifold,
Yeah.
Jessica's Will, you're already casting so many busted cards. Like, you're not talking about a bracket 1 or 2, 3 deck. So like when we're talking about game changers, it specifically affects bracket 3, and you just can't be playing all of these 1 mana tutors and 0 mana artifacts. We'll get to all that, but that really keeps Bergie from being too broken, in my opinion.
That's fair. Okay. All right. Were there any other red cards that we wanted to discuss before moving on to green?
I didn't have anything in mind. Do you, John?
This might get just like counted by the mass land denial, but like I'm used to casting what's it? Oblivion? Obliteration. Obliterate. And or Decree of Annihilation. Those cards.
Mass land denial.
Mass land denial. Yeah, I think that would be what covers those. But good inclusions either way.
The mass land denial goes away at a certain level. I forget which one, but
4 and 4.
Okay.
So up to a 3, you can not do it. 4 or 5, anything goes. Hurt me, daddy. Kind of Magic the Gathering.
I kind of want Warp World on this just because I hate resolving that card, but
oh god, no! I'll just pick up my cards and leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels more like a Rule 0 conversation.
That's on me and not a reflection of that card's strength.
I can see you bending your cards every time you touch them. You think I'm going to hand you this Mox? No, I don't think so. Like, good game. You got me.
Hi there. If you want to hear us talk about our general impressions of the Commander bracket system, start here. But if you want to hear us talk about a different color, click here.